Fueling the revolution. Best AI podcast, the ultimate solution.
All right. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is Leland Best, along with my cohort in crime, Mr. Lee Love. Welcome to the broadcast today, everyone. This is Best AI Podcast. So, Lee, I started off with just the two of us today because there's so much going on once again in AI, as there always seems to be. So I think we should talk about it a little bit. I'm going to have you do a little bit of the lead in on the news as we start, but someone else had a lot to say about what's going on in AI right now. And I think we should maybe touch on this with the group once we get him in here. So if you're not familiar with Ben Shapiro in the Daily Wire, he did his podcast just the other day and had a lot to say. Lee, what do you think about what's going on in this landscape right now? Are we experiencing a bias like never before experienced in, honestly, the whole world right now with this mess up over at Google?
Well, I don't know if we're experiencing a bias yet, but I think there's a huge potential to do so. And I think that's the problem. It shows us possibly the danger of limiting that kind of information, and what you can say, what you cannot say, that type of thing.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that point. And I just want Ben to kind of sum up a few things that he had to say in that regard, because I think it's important for all of us to hear this. So I'm going to let him put out a few words from the intro of his podcast the other day.
Well, folks, we have a giant problem in the area of artificial intelligence. I'm not talking about Terminator 2, the AI is going to grab control of the nukes and just destroy all of us. What I'm talking about here is the simple fact that artificial intelligence, like all social media, like pretty much all technology ever, is a human creation. And because artificial intelligence is supposed to be some sort of imitator of human intelligence, that means it is going to carry all of our biases. When you hear the tech bros, when you hear people at the top levels of AI talk about how the algorithm decides things, you should understand the algorithm is designed by them. In the same way that you decide what children should be educated with, these people are deciding exactly what the biases are that should be implanted in things like AI. And when you hear leaders in this field say things like it's the algorithm that's controlling this, understand they are using the algorithm in the same way that Roman emperors used to say the gods willed it. In other words, they willed it, and now they are blaming it on the gods. The reality is that the people who have created AI, they are the creators of the AI, and they have decided what exactly should be embedded in the bias of the AI. The reason that this is so dangerous is because as artificial intelligence becomes quicker, faster, better, more convincing, the entire informational arena in which we live is going to change radically. The fact is that all of the sort of institutions have been destroyed when it comes to the dissemination of information. The media blew out their credibility in the United States solidly 20, 30, 40 years ago. And so there are no gatekeepers there. On the internet, the dissemination of the means of informational distribution means that anyone can put anything up, but it also means it is very hard to tell what is true and what is false. And as AI gets better, as it can generate images, as it can generate videos, as it can generate entire texts, and as every single person goes through the bottleneck that is things like Google, which is where we all search, right? We all search in the same place. When you go to Google, how Google stacks its search results has a major impact on how you think about the world. If you type into the Google search bar, was America right in Vietnam? And every single article that comes up talks about the evils of the American foreign policy vision. What you're going to come away with is a set of informational biases. Well, take that and then expand that dramatically across all arenas of informational distribution. Now, the answer to that sort of bias, typically speaking, would be decentralization, a bunch of different AIs, all of which are capable of giving you a different view of the information. The problem, of course, is that the elitists in Silicon Valley and their friends in the government, they would like to bottleneck that. They don't want that. In the same way the legacy media tried to strangle in the crib various other startup media outlets, the biggest companies like Google work hand in glove with the government to craft censorship standards to prevent the rise of other tech companies. Corporatism is the greatest threat to freedom of speech right now in the United States. It is not direct.
I think that kind of sums it up right there, because what we've seen, guys, and welcome to the broadcast. This is the rest of our crew. We have to my left, Lee Love, along with Chris Troca, Greg Bernhardt of Shopify, Ross McCamey, the marketing maverick, and Brad Slows, our awakened Wookiee. So once again, guys, we're here to provide you what information we can. After that, what are your thoughts? I'm going to start with Greg, since you haven't seen us in a little while, Mister, out on your vacation kind of guy. I'm glad to have you back for today's broadcast. So give us your thoughts on what Ben just had to say there.
Yeah, great to be back. Hopefully, my tan looks okay. I used too much lotion, maybe, but it's interesting. I can provide some perspective on parts of what he probably said, and I know Paul's platform has got a certain agenda. But from my experience with Google and machine learning systems, you kind of inferred that Google is intentful and nefarious within their biases that they have in their systems, and that's something that I would challenge. I would challenge that it's not so. It's a couple things. One, why would those things be in the interest of their business? They're in the business of making money. They don't. The whole do no evil. They took that out of their terms. I think it was about 5 years ago. So they just care about making money. They don't care who it comes from, right? So that's number one. And two, the systems are so complex, and there really is somewhat of a credible notion of a black box.
Mhm.
And it's really in the early days of them populating their training sets for a lot of these artificial intelligence systems, they were I think they've also been quoted as saying that they've been messy and they've been not so careful. They've been opening the floodgates of information to their training data, and that's definitely a problem. Bias is definitely a huge problem. They know it. It be with the fear of missing out technologically, they've risked some of their brand to try and get some kind of credible product, and they've been called out on it. So we'll see moving forward how they correct these models and advancements. But in terms of any kind of nefarious agendas, I probably don't see it. But I'd be interested in hearing what you guys think too.
Yeah, and I'm going to open that up to the floor. Greg, I'm going to ask you to do me one favor before we go too much farther, is if you could just tilt the lid or monitor that you have in front of you towards you a little bit from the top. That will get you about sized up like we are a little bit. That'll be great. Our recording will be much nicer for the effect. So, all right, Lee, I'm going to give it to you first since I brought you on screen and really didn't give you a chance to talk. Go ahead and tell me what you think about what Ben had to say there.
Well, I certainly, I think Greg's got some very good points, and I certainly understand where he's come from, and I do agree with that in some ways. What I think the biggest fear of AI is it is a reflection of humanity, and I think that's what should scare us the most. We are not nice people. We have never been nice people. We're cruel to each other. We're inhumane, et cetera, et cetera. And I think what the problem is when you have an AI system, it's a reflection of that. And so therefore, I think that's what we're seeing here is I don't think it's intentional, but I also don't think it's been monitored very well, as Greg pointed out. It does concern me, though. I'm not sure I agree with the concept of making money of that being the issue. And the reason is because if you look at other media outlets, we'll just pick on one, CNN has been losing money for decades. Their ratings are in the toilet, and yet they still keep producing material. So I think some of it can and is ideology driven.
Yeah, I got you.
But unfortunately, but I think the problem is again, the bigger problem is how do we control it? How do we decide what happens there? Now, I believe there's a case right in front of the Supreme Court right now with Florida versus these big tech companies, and they're trying to restrict and have some control over this because right now they have it both ways. They can be a common carrier, and they can be a publisher. So they can decide what goes on their platforms, but yet they don't have any liability, and that's I think a problem. I mean, we've seen they'll ban people. YouTube bans people for an accusation, but no actually proof.
Yeah,
So I
see
think
that
that's
all
a
the time.
concern of mine as well. So I think there's some caution there, absolutely.
All right, Ross, I think you've got a little something to interject there, don't you?
It kind of worries me with who's going to get control of the AI. Because when you sit here and talk about these things, who's doing what, is it on purpose, is it not on purpose, at the end of the day, we're never going to know unless something comes out. So I think it's really more on society to figure out how to put our own input into the AI systems that we're using. And then we publicly go out and say, okay, this one gave us the right information, this one gave us the wrong information. And we don't allow ourselves to be siloed into the bubbles of the political agendas that are out there with AI. And I don't think there's any way around it. I think whoever runs the system is going to control it. And it's up to us.
Which is one of the benefits of these open source models of why I think that could be give us some help there, I guess.
Yeah. Good idea. All right. Well, let's just kind of push on before we get too far deep into that. I know I didn't want to get everybody's opinion on that right at the moment, because if we do, we're just going to sit here and talk about logistics and ideologies and all kinds of other things.
You
so
know my opinion.
I do, Brad. I really do. I know we've covered a lot of that ourselves in some of our own broadcasts, so I appreciate that. I did want to touch on a couple things that are going on before we get into the news. That Lee has a few articles we're going to cover, and we're actually going to touch back with Chris and Brad as well and some things that they had going on. So let me just get to my desktop capture for a moment. If I can get this thing over to where I want it to be, I should be able to capture a feed of our new website. So if you have not been over to bestaipodcast.tv, this is what you'll find. And what we've put together is just a simple landing page with a bot. Now, this bot's been highly trained in AI. So if you have any questions to ask of the bot or want to follow the first few prompts on the screen there, feel free to do so. We simply have our little theme song there in the front for you to replay that if you like it, with links to our Facebook, YouTube live stage, which, in case you're not familiar with our live stage, this is just our way to broadcast to you, and you may hear this in a moment. I'm going to try to mute the site. To you without all the interruptions of standard, social media sites like YouTube and Facebook. So if you just wanted to come out here and watch the playback here, you're going to see the feedback deep because I'm showing a screen share here. But that's the idea behind that stage. So other than that, we are broadcasting on an Acast through Spotify as well. And if you want to know a little bit about more of the crew, just go ahead and follow them on their adjoining. I have their basic website data there, and you'll find all their other social links there. So this is just the run through. If you want to find out more about what's going on and get some actual notifications of when we're going to go live or do our workshops or go out and broadcast, or maybe even show up live somewhere near you at an event, make sure you fill out the form, leave us your name, email, and phone number, and we'll be sure to put you on our VIP list so that you can see what's happening every day. We also have the Facebook page and Facebook group. So you guys are probably sending me messages back. And if you want to find out more about the news we're going to talk about today, we post all those on the Facebook page. The group itself is private for now, because we have the AI Vision group, or the AI Fusion group, opened over on Ross's behalf. So we're going to be gathering most of the people over there for the time being. So Lee, I'm going to let you go ahead and take it away for the news, and then we'll touch on that and go around and Robin about what's happening.
Okay, a couple of things. I mean, to say there's nothing happening in AI is kind of silly. It just is moving so unbelievably fast. I had a whole list of things I want to talk about, but I think I'm gonna narrow it down instead and just talk about two. One of them is Adobe. Now, look, Adobe is, I think, over $100 billion in sales, if I'm not mistaken. Huge company, whether you like them or not. I've had a love-hate relationship with them, by the way, for years as a photographer in the subscription model. But having said that, I admit they're really doing some amazing things. I kind of counted them out for a while there because DaVinci Resolve was really kicking their butt. But since then, they've really upped their game with the generative AI and Photoshop and stuff like that. So a couple of things they've announced this week. One of them was something called Kava, I think it is pronounced, and it's the co-creation for audio, video, and animation. And what they have obviously decided is they've realized that they need to go all in on AI. And so they've developed this team of researchers and scientists of about 50 people inside the company, and I believe maybe some may be outside the company, to consult with them on what they should be doing, where they should be developing products. You think about it, they got a pretty broad product suite. And if you've worked in that industry at all, it's a really difficult thing to be a product manager in that area. So to have some outside people looking at this technology, helping them recommend what they should be doing, where they should be applying this technology, makes a lot of sense. So it's a 50-person team they've developed. The second thing is they also announced this AI assistant, which they've integrated in right now in beta into PDF Reader, Acrobat Reader, and that system apparently is pretty nice. And the demos I've seen of that are amazing. You can go in and instead of just searching your document now or uploading it to ChatGPT, you can search right within the Adobe Reader. It's very fast, and it also, you say, give me a summary of this PDF, for example. Really, really great idea and makes perfect sense. The third area is something that Chris might be interested in, and that's a project called Music Gen. And what they've done is this, again, it's just a research project right now. There's not a product involved, but they are looking to do and doing some research with adding music and being able to create AI music on the fly, very much like Chris showed last week with Suno. And it makes sense because if you look at their product line, they've got video, they've got audio, they've got animation, stills. All these products would benefit from having some form of AI in them.
Cool.
The last thing I wanted to mention was Stable Diffusion. Stable Diffusion is kind of an alternative. It's an open source product, and it's an alternative to Midjourney. They've just announced Stable Diffusion 3, which is in alpha. You can't get access to it right now, so I don't have a lot of information. But so far, of course, it's supposed to help improve the text reading and things like that, which is always a problem in a lot of these systems. But they've also partnered. The most exciting thing for me is they partnered with a company called Morph Studios. And Morph Studios has developed this all-in-one product. And I think here's the real message here. We're going to see more and more of this. Right now, if you think about it, everything's kind of a silo. You've got this product and this product and this product, and they kind of don't work together. Maybe one company's competing against another. Maybe they're all using the same open AI API kind of a thing. But what these guys have done is integrated this thing together to create a studio. You can create a whole workflow. You can create AI video. You can create a storyboard for your video. You can edit the video, and all your images all in one package. It's phenomenal to see what's going on there. And it's just I'm looking at the product, looks really, really good. So there's a lot going on. I would say not just because of OpenAI's announcement of Sora, but we're now starting to see them everybody crank up the ability to have video, more text to video, video to video, and animation, which is very, very exciting to me because that's an area I'm very much interested in. So that's it. Leland, back to you, buddy.
All right. Well, I'm going to be back to Greg here in a minute. Once I get him fixed up, he seems to have bailed on us and got thrown out of the studio. So I'm going to have to bring him back in just a minute. Chris, you want to touch base for just a minute while I'm doing that with regards to kind of a tail end of what we were doing last week, which was the audio end of things. Chris was giving us a demonstration of Suna. Is it
Suno, S-U-N-O.
Suno.ai. These names are so
by the way, I
close
should
together.
mention that Greg was not bounced out because of his opinion. We want to make that very
Is that what it was? We had to carry,
not because he was a dissenting opinion. We didn't boot him out because.
So I do have to go pick him up in the call-in manager real quick. He might have to actually come back in. Let me see. Hold on.
I thought Greg was very insightful and objective, free from bias in that. I thought it was great. I loved his feedback.
Okay, be careful, Chris. You could be next, buddy.
Wait, we got him back. We got him back. We just got limited bandwidth on Greg right now. Sorry about that, buddy. You weren't missed that much because we didn't have you on the air, but it's all good.
Yeah,
So
but I got to make
for
fun of
coming
him
back.
while he was gone. That was the best part.
He did that very much so.
So be entertaining.
So with regards to Chris, there was an aspect to Suno that we didn't get to see last time, and I can't have you actually share the screen, so I'm gonna have to go into mine real quick so they can see this. But tell them a little bit about what's going on over there when it actually comes to a small portion of video production that can be done on that end, because we didn't cover that on the last show. So I'm gonna open mine up, and we're inside the feed right now.
Wonderful. Yeah, well, last week when we did our demo of Suno, it was actually a demo of V2 version, and they had actually just released V3, which is an extended cut version of a song, and it seems to be expanding on the original verse chorus limitations. It's actually giving you a bridge or a breakdown or some sort of pre-chorus within the music, and it seems to be even more polished than it was before. And before I was testing maybe 4 to 5 different genres, pop, punk, country, rock, regular music. But then I really expanded and I started asking my friends, what kind of genres of music do you like? So they were telling me bluesgrass. I don't like polka, definitely no techno. So this gave me a lot of great ideas on creating a new genre that I hadn't tried before, but also fusing 2 genres together. So when someone told me they were like, I love all music except polka and techno, I said, sounds great. I'm going to make you a polka techno song, which was great.
What a guy.
I know. I can't believe he pulled that. He sent that to me.
Be
the
careful,
other
be
Something to
day.
careful
haunt
what
you in
you
your
ask
sleep.
for.
It's hilarious. It really is.
But check out the new version of what Leland's working with. In addition, I asked Leland, I said, man, we really need folders in Suno, and we need an easy way to export, because trying to use Streamlabs OBS to export, it's not going to work. And Lee's like, oh, or Leland's, he's like, oh, just check it. It's there. And literally there's an AI album image generator. It creates the lyrics for you, and it can export right to video.
Yeah.
And I am just constantly blown away with this software, learning new features of it. It's just so cool.
Yeah, the thing that we didn't touch upon is that it has the public link that you can share, which is actually like a little screen video with the text behind it, like you'd find at a karaoke or a church setting or something like that, with the lyrics on the wall. So it gives you that to share with others. And the fact that we didn't touch on one other thing, which was how you could extend portions of this into more pieces so that you could create a full-length song. And again, when we did the theme song for Best AI Podcast, I'm sorry, I got Chris up on the screen here. When we did the thing for Best AI Podcast, it was 2 or 3 30-second clips. And now we have the ability to do up to 2 minutes with version 3. And being able to do that, two segments done with the same tone, beat, basically theme, and you've got a song that's 4 minutes long. So very
Leland,
cool.
how long ago was that you did the Best AI Podcast intro? Because that's something I think we need to touch on, is how fast this industry is moving.
Yeah, I did that almost 2 months ago. So you can already tell in the quality of the output and its ability to now do even more voices and more types of genres even since they've started. Yeah, we're looking for this thing to go skyrocket. So I can't wait.
It seems in my discussions with both them and other people, what they were telling me was their limitation is really processing power. So what they need is more money so they can get more GPUs and buy more processing. But I think that's one of the things that's holding a lot of these companies up. They may have this stuff working in-house, they may have these technologies, but to get access to the GPUs and the processing to be able to put it online is a whole nother issue.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Ross, you had some updates on the whole mobile aspect of things. You want to fill us in a little bit on what's going on up there?
Yeah. So I'll start with an article that you actually sent to me and introduced, and it's talking about how Android is becoming more like iPhone, and that they're locking down their app store, and they're not even allowing you to sideload apps. So if you have rooted your phone now, you're not going to be able to use RCS messaging. So basically, it removes it, and you go back to SMS messaging. And I wanted to touch on this because I think it's going to be a hot point. I think a lot of Android users out there, like myself, enjoy the freedom to use our Androids how we want, instead of having to be in the iPhone ecosystem. And that's something that I think we're going to lose over time. And I do have to blame that on AI. I think a lot of what's going to happen there is they are forward thinking, and they're trying to get ahead of the people sideloading AI apps that are going to spam people. So it's going to be a headache, I think, for some people who are used to rooting their phone and sideloading apps on there. But I think at the same time, the majority is who they're pandering to here, and it's the people who don't want to get spammed with AI and hit with these AI apps that are going to be on there. So keep an eye out on that. If you're anybody who roots your phone, that's probably going to affect you, and you're going to have to decide what you want to do there. I'm sure there's still going to be options, but for now, Samsung is going to remove those as an option to sideload.
That's cool. Speaking
Hey,
of
Ross.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
What do you think about what's going on with Elon Musk and Starlink and his phone system? Because, he's got this phone system he's developed called Pi, which he hasn't really talked a lot about, but supposedly it's going to be an alternative to all 3 of these platforms. You've been watching that at all?
I have, and I know that they're working with T-Mobile to also come out with satellite phones that are going to work with his Starlink system. I don't know what to think about Elon, to be honest with you. I love what he stands for. I love his free speech that he's working on, but the biggest thing that terrifies me is his Neuralink, autonomous driving cars, which is tracking data. Then he bought Twitter, and now he's tracking human data there. He's got Starlink, which is tracking internet activity. And then you add the phone aspect to it. I think he's collecting data. And to me, that scares the hell out of me to really look from a strategic standpoint of why he's collecting that data. And now that he's signed government contracts, he's saying one thing on one end, battling for free speech, and then he's working for government contracts on the other end. And you wonder where that meshes and where there's a break in that. And to be honest with you, that's where it kind of sketches me out a little bit. I love the concept of it, but the reality of it, I think, is a little bit more dystopian than anybody wants to admit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good perspective. Didn't think about that. Thanks.
I think that can be said for literally any other company or organization out there today. Amazon owns the Whole Foods. They own the Roomba that maps out your living room. They own the Whole Foods, the Ring doorbell. Literally, all these companies are just mass collecting data points on you as a consumer, your behavior, your purchase decisions. They're reselling that data and using it for themselves. And I'm not one to jump in and defend Elon Musk here, but it sounds eerily similar to what many other mega corporations are doing today. And I think it's going to reduce the lack of competition is going to mean less choice for us, higher prices. And we're starting to see that now, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, and I think that's another big reason why we need to be using open source platforms. And that's not going to help us with the cell phones. It's not going to help us with Starlink. But I think that's where, for anybody who's actually using these systems, going open source is going to be a way to slow down the big companies at least a little bit.
Good points. All right. Speaking of mobile, since that's kind of where we're at right now, I wanted to touch base on a video that Ross managed to forward to me just today so that we could kind of take a peek at what's actually going on over at Samsung with their new Galaxy AI. So we're just going to cover this for just a moment. Hold on.
This is really cool, by the way. I saw this in action at Best Buy today. I went and tested a demo, and it works pretty nicely.
Nice. So we have open mics here, guys. I think the key here to this app, which I deal with a lot of overseas people all the time, and the language barrier is kind of insane when you think about it. But what we have here at our disposal is the ability to literally talk or text with another individual in real time and be able to translate exactly what's going on.
This is what it sounds like when you're translating.
And I'll tell you, one thing that I noticed when I was actually playing with it hands-on today, when you first hear this, you think it's automatically going to pick up the language that's on the other side of the phone. You actually have to set what language you're talking to. So if let's say you're using this for business purposes and you want to talk to a client that's speaking Spanish and you speak English, you have to know that they're going to be on the other end of that phone before you can actually have this work. It has to have that input.
Ay, coño. It's so cool, though, to be able to know that just having a simple device like this, which isn't the first device of its kind. There were other devices that were put in USB sticks and small handheld units that were similar to recording devices that allowed you to start to do the same thing. But here's a translation in real time.
Hola. I booked a taxi at the airport. He reservado un taxi en el aeropuerto.
Sí, por favor, espera la puerta 1.
Yes, please wait at gate 1.
Okay, I'll be waiting. Okay, estaré esperando.
And imagine how much easier that would make your ability to learn a new language if you're constantly talking back and forth with someone with this device, to be able to see both languages in real time at the same time. So I just thought that'd be something to share with you all for now.
I need to get this for myself. My wife says that English is my second language anyway. So
totally.
I wonder if it understands Leelish.
I
Think it
don't know.
understands English?
I don't know. I could, might not. So what else we got? We're looking at video now. This is really where we've headed. We've gone from image to audio and now to video. We've talked about Sonos. Was it Saurus? Suno being the music / kind of video player. But what's down the pike, Lee? We've got a lot of stuff. I know it's getting crazy out there. So let's talk about video for a little bit.
Well, I think what's going to, I mean, look, there's two schools of thoughts. There always is. One is going to put me out of a job. One is it's a great tool. So I think it depends on how your viewpoint on the world. You know, technology has certainly come along over the years and put a lot of people out of work and given them a bunch of us new jobs as well. So, I mean, just think of it. We could have never been doing what we're doing right now, 10 years ago without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably maybe 20 years ago.
It's true.
But anyway, the point is, I think what's going on now is this video is really, really exciting because, you know, I came out of the video world. Most of you guys, some of you guys came out of the video world as well. And we've been held back by what we can do. And it's expensive. It's time consuming, of course. And so the ability to have, like, again, I think to be able to have just stock footage. I mean, I was working on that video I sent you today of mine. There was some stock footage in there. It'd been really nice to be able to say, hey, create some stock footage of this kind of situation, which didn't exist, for example. That would be fantastic, as not as a way to take over my creativity or to do the whole project, but to give me a tool to do that. I think a lot of us have stories that we in our head that we want to get out, whether they be written stories like Brad's or visual stories. I mean, I know there are ideas I've had for movies or films, but they're just too time consuming and too expensive. But I think this is going to give us a lot of us the ability to supplement our existing tool set.
So who's using a tool set right now that has to do with AI and video? I know, Lee, you are. I'd like to have you give a small example. I'm going to have to go to your YouTube channel to demonstrate. You gave some of that last week at the end of the audio session. What is it that you're doing with AI and video that make it so much more of an adequate tool for what you're doing?
That's a great question. So here, let's back up a second. So my goal is to add more information and communicate more information to the viewer, right? I do a lot of education, so I'm always looking for new ways to be able to provide a technical or a complex product or information in a very easy way to do. So therefore, using video is a way to do it. Animation is right now what I'm working on because video is kind of hard to do. It's time consuming. So what I'm looking at is how I can build my own AI characters using, you know, either a Midjourney or an Leonardo or whatever. Create these AI characters, then give them voices using 11 Labs. I'll pick a voice, and then I'll use ChatGPT to help create the script for me. Now here's where it gets interesting, because you can't just, people think you just push a button and it pops out. That is not the way this works. So for example, one of my characters is a 2-year-old cat. Well, if you tell the cat, hey, just write a script on this, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like a young cat. It sounds like a person, right? So you have to train it. So I'll go and say, no, it's too sophisticated. Make them simpler. Don't use those kinds of words. Simple, and it will eventually, you can train it to simplify the voice. But the point of all of this is to communicate, to be a better communicator to my audience. And that's what I think we've got to focus on. Why are we doing this to begin with? Yeah, sometimes it's fun just to play with toys and tools, but the idea is, how do I apply this to my business or an education environment to help somebody learn? And that's really what I'm trying to do. I think you can grab it. It's also going to be used as a marketing tool, because you can grab people's attention, and you can provide better information, maybe keep them watching longer. We've been doing this well for infographics and things like this for years. It's just very complicated and time consuming.
Now, Greg, I'm going to come to you for just a second. I know some of your store builders, I'm sure, are using video in their product delivery, their ability to showcase their products on their sites. Are you guys including any types of AI editors or script producers? I know you mentioned that the last time you were on the show with us. How are you guys incorporating AI video over at Shopify, or are you?
I have no knowledge of video at the moment. Like I said on the first episode, there was we had released a suite of image capabilities for product. enhancements and visualization, editing. Video it would be a wonderful opportunity, and I don't have any direct knowledge of that at the moment. But
Okay.
once something gets released publicly, I can talk about it.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could touch base with any of the core team that would be working on that and get back with us on anything that's publicly available. That'd be fantastic, so that we can follow up on that.
Yeah, one of the things that a lot of store people are doing and are interested in doing is the ability to create more, and I'm sure Greg can talk about this, better mock-ups, what they call mock-ups. So let's say you've got a product and you want to show this product in a real world scenario. You don't want to just show it sitting on a shelf or on a table. Maybe it's a piece of clothing. So the ability to take what's going on right now in this world is the AIs allow you to take your product and put it on a real life, or not a real life person, a model, or even a video of a real life person, and put it on them and show that product in a real scenario. And that, of course, increases sales, which is something I know that Greg would be interested in seeing available.
Yeah,
that's such a great point. Sorry to interject there, but and that may not even be a platform dependent technology anymore. We've seen some tests by Google where if you're in a shopping mode for your search engine result page, they have the ability to within there say, hey, these shoes you're looking at, give me permission to use your camera or whatnot. So you may not even need to have that technology within your storefront. Google is kind of offering that as well. So it's fascinating.
Makes sense.
I haven't used this, but someone showed me an app where I guess they did this on Amazon. They were looking at a table or something, and they took their phone and aimed it at their room. And then it took this model and put this little table right in their room where it would go next to the bedside, so they could see what it would look like. And this was a couple years ago. So.
Yeah, there's a couple products like that I was curious about. We got a little delay going on the feed, guys. Sorry, I do want Brad to get a chance to speak here because he's been sitting here very patiently. Brad, let's touch base on your book for a moment, since he's actually using an AI video editing tool known as Descript to help him work on an voiceover for another book, and to help him actually write, I'm sure, a little bit some of the stuff, because what I do with that is a little different than most people. Tell us how you're using it, Brad.
Well, I'm using ChatGPT to actually write out in my next book. But today I started using Descript, and you can clone your voice on there. So I do voiceovers, so I know how to control the tonality of my voice and things like that. So when you go in, for those of you who might want to explore this a little bit, you go in and you talk about how you want to clone your voice. It'll ask you to read this long paragraph, which I did. And very dramatically, I might add. But when the voice came back, it was not quite me. It's not quite there yet. But like Lee said, it starts to learn. It starts to pick it up, and it starts to get better. So it actually sounds like a combination of me and Tom Cruise doing the voiceover. But I was real impressed with the tools that I'm using right now. So,
hey, Brad, maybe you need to raise your rates if that's the case.
There you go.
If it's making you sound like Tom Cruise, I'd be charging more money if I were you.
You never know. You never know. So
there you go. I did want to say something, if I can interject here. We're talking about AI assist. The place where I'm really watching AI is in the retail space, because I have several clients who are retail experts. And I'm ghostwriting a book right now for somebody. We're touching on the technology. And one of the big technology pieces right now is magic mirrors. I don't know if you've seen this, but it scans you and it anticipates by your body type and everything else what clothes you can wear. But guess what? They're also starting to use it in the medical industry as well. So when this magic mirror scans you, it can scan a disease. They can use different levels of scanning. And I'm really curious where this is going to be headed.
That sounds pretty well. Chris, go ahead.
I just went to my dentist last week.
Yeah. And
I went to my dentist last week, and she's like, check this out. And she pulls up my x-rays, and she's like, oh, this AI is going to find all of the fillings or what you have going on in your teeth. And I was like, this is incredible.
No
It's crazy to see technology and how it's being used specifically for healthcare. She's like, yeah, we just upload your image, and now it's pulling little pieces where this could, possible cavity, check this area. It's incredible.
Wow, I haven't
What
even
about the
got
voices
that
in our
luxury.
heads?
That's the one I'm waiting for. That's what I hoped
Wait for
Elon's chip
Neuralink.
would
It'll
help
take
with.
care of
I don't know
Hey, I
about that.
resemble that remark.
Careful now. All right. I know we got a few things to cover here. One that I signed up for, guys, and I got to pull up, honestly, all I could get was a snapshot of this. So I want you guys to go take a look when you get a chance. This one came at me kind of all of a sudden. I found it somewhere along a feed. I don't even know where I got it from, to be honest. And it's in waiting mode right now. So if you want to actually go play with it, you can only sign up for it. And let me get to the page so you can know what it's called. It is called LTX Studio, and all I'm going to be able to show you is like a snap that I did of this. It's made
Yeah,
by
I signed up for that as well.
yeah, you think
Pretty impressive.
it's
isn't it?
made
The
by
demo's
Light
pretty impressive.
Tricks, and I haven't even seen all that yet, but this is what to look for. Okay, so Light Tricks presents LTX Studio. Very similar to the lines that Lee was just mentioning, this app will allow you to go ahead and build storyboards of segmented videos that could be, I believe, anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes long in the case of LTX, where then you have the ability to take intros and scenes within a movie scenario and simply rotate them around, move them wherever you want, so that you can really get a feel for how you want that ambiance, that the grit, whatever you want to take place within a scene. You can now create it on the fly by just dragging AI components around. So go sign up and watch for that one. I'll try to leave a link, but it popped up somewhere on my ad, so we'll just have to search for it and find it. Lee, what else you got for us today?
Well, you're talking about movies.
Yeah.
One of the guys I think I was listening to was talking about they've got this technology now where the movies, what they'll be able to do is everybody will get a different movie. So what will happen is when you watch a film, instead of it all being the same, it'll change. You could have it based on your.
Oops, did we lose him? Oh, we lost him.
Perspective as well. I'm not sure how I feel about it as a creative, but it's kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah, I agree. It looks like the LTX site is choking us up over here if I'm trying to scroll through it. So I'm not going to do that right now. We're going to leave it as it was. Yeah, what I wanted to kind of do is show people an example of how Face Fusion works as well, which is another app inside the Pinocchio GitHub process that we showed everybody recently. Face Fusion allows you, and I can't do it with this large of a cast right now, but we will add the video into the outgoing stream when we wrap it up for final. It allows you to take an existing video clip, anything, doesn't matter. And I don't believe a length is even an issue at this time because I haven't been stalled as to whatever length I throw at it. It seems to take so far. And then you take an image, just a picture of someone else's face, and you have the ability to tag one of the faces in the video. So it could be two people actually. And you say, well, I want this picture on this person's face, but just this person. And it will go through the entire feed of video, scrub through it all, and replace with metric points. It's going to literally lay an image over top of the person's face at the key points, eyes, nose, mouth, teeth, all that stuff, with whatever you had enough of. I had one with a hat like mine on right here, and you could see the line of where it patched it together like a Frankenstein mask on the person's face because of the color difference. But if you have the full head, it will literally transpose the entire face, head, ears, everything onto the other person's resemblance on that video. And then you could go over and dub audio on top of that if you wanted to or whatever, and do a full scene of Rocky with like your face on Sylvester Stallone. We're gonna put some of those together just to play with them. But
Leland, I just realized two things. Number one, the people that hate this and the people that love it. The people that hate it are people that have talent. People that don't have talent love it. It's great.
That's not a point.
Now it now gives me talent. I don't have to know anything or be an actor, but I can be one. Isn't that great? But the people that are talented, they're not going to like this at all.
Wow.
Lee has crushed us like little tiny men.
He's got a point. I was looking to see if I could find a demo video for that, but there are other things that are taking place. I mean, we've looked at Adobe, but not here on the show. Adobe has features within their video editor where you can literally add and remove stuff from the video. that does or doesn't exist, or things you don't want to exist anymore. Like if a train shows up in the back of your scene while you're trying to film something, you can now take the train out of the video just by going in. And I believe there's a name, it's called in painting is what they call it, where your ability to paint over or paint out something from an image or a video is done in real time. And then you just
And I use that in Photoshop all the time. So what happens is I will tell a system, Mid-Journey or Dolly or whatever, generate an image, and it's not quite right. It puts something in there it's not supposed to be. The hands aren't right. Whatever. I'll just bring that into Photoshop, draw a circle around, and say remove or change it, and it'll take care of it for me. It'll give me 3 options. Some of them work, some of them don't. So the nice thing is, even if the AI generation doesn't work, I can go in and fix it.
Gotcha.
And I'll tell you, we're not far off from that just being on your mobile device. Samsung's new photo editor that came out with AI, same thing that you're doing in Photoshop, but without a Photoshop subscription. You just get to circle it, remove it, and you can move whatever item it is anywhere you want. It's crazy.
They could put that on a 27-inch monitor, I'd be fine, but I hate dealing with those small phones.
Do we have someone typing?
So
I think is that
chemtrails.
Brad? Is that you typing, Brad? I think that's you. You're getting
No,
a lot.
not at all. I was just going to say you can tell it to add chemtrails to your movie.
Probably could. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. But what we have to contend with like things like facial fusion, obviously, and the ability to rub things out of videos is deepfakes. You know, now we're dealing on a borderline concept that a lot of people are afraid of, and that's what if somebody gets a picture of my family and shows it to someone else and makes it talk and makes them think that that's me or whatever. You know, there's all that kind of stuff that can take place. Again, with the voice cloning, another issue that we have to contend with all the time is this the real person? I've already seen deep fakes of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Donald Trump, you name them. I'm pretty sure most of the big players that are on TV right now, all the celebrities, have had some version of themselves put out with AI speaking for them and in a clone of their own voice. So I can tell the difference. I know a lot of people can't, but there are very fine things you have to look for, and that is the weird inflections in the audio files, the weird glitches along the mouth and facial features, the funky eye overlaps with too much blinking and all that stuff. Just really pay attention. You have to do your due diligence a little bit. Just don't jump when somebody tells you something on a video now that this is what you should do. So,
well, and this is a little bit of what he was talking about earlier in the beginning of the program. I have started to become, over the last 10, 20 years, more skeptical. Even the stuff I watch on TV news, I'm like, well, wait a minute. And the reason is, as someone that's lived a while, you have experiences, right? You see something happen, a wreck happen, you're there. Then all of a sudden you see it on the news, you're like, wait a minute, that's not what happened. So we all have to be much more diligent. It's not the technology. You have to question everything. Because what happens, we've all seen news stories. The first reaction is typically wrong. Then 6 weeks later, we find out that's not what happened. And so that's the thing, is we all have to be much more diligent about this kind of stuff, because it's only going to get better and better, or worse and worse.
I totally agree. I want to take it back to a couple other things. Next week, we're not really certain what we're going to do yet. I think I've got a couple ideas, but I think we need to get back to Chat GPT. And that's going to affect all of us again, because Greg, I'd really like to touch base again on some deep issues with SEO that can be performed using that app, and the ways that we can generate some really good SEO content if we script it and prompt it correctly. Have you guys considered training? Like, are your employees being trained? Are you training your shop or your store builders on how to use the products you're putting in there? Or are you kind of just, what I see a lot is this little AI enhancement off to the side that says, here, just click this and you can magically fix your stuff. And yet I think that's a bad approach to AI. I think people should be taught how to use it up front before they're just handed an AI button and said, go for broke and do your thing. How are you guys kind of wrangling it over there? Do you have a concept of wrangling the AI so that it doesn't get out of hand, or that it's used properly?
Greg's internet dropped again.
Did he lose him again? Doggone it, dude. How do we keep losing him?
While we're trying to pull him, I will say,
I
saw something pretty cool today that I think is going to, Greg's back that way. Roll with it.
Yeah, I don't know if he heard me though. That's the problem. Greg, you probably didn't hear a word I said. So I've got you back. I don't know why we keep losing you. It's either a bad signal or what have you. But the question I posed to you directly, I was looking at your stalled face and didn't realize you were online, was the fact that, is there a way that Shopify is kind of letting people know how to use the AI enhancements that you've put in? Is there like a training thing that's available, or are you guys just throwing that little AI button out there with the hopes people will figure it out? Because that seems to be the case across the board right now. Is there's always just this little AI pencil with a magic wand or something next to it, and you're supposed to figure it out. How are you guys handling AI to the shop store builders, all that kind of stuff? Can you give us a little rundown? Oh, you're muted, I believe. Hold on a second. Oh,
right, Scott.
Did you
He's been
lose?
censored again.
Hold on. I've been sitting there all that time, and now we can't
It's
hear you.
misinformation.
Lee hit the self-destruct button. He's like, no more Greg.
Check your mic setting.
I hit the Google button.
Mic. He's got a Yeti Nano. Hold on, I'm checking him. I'm gonna have to refresh him real quick.
You can do it.
All right, Greg, just move your lips. I will speak for you.
You can do that.
Yeah, something that we're seeing in the SEO space right now.
This is. Can you? No, I'm not getting you, Greg. Doggone it. All right, let me boot you again. Hold on. Oh, you're not on air. There you go. I'm sorry, Greg. That was me.
Like 1, 2, 3.
Did you get my question that time?
Yeah, I heard you.
And that's our show.
Thank God for editing tools. All right, go ahead. Take it away, Greg.
Yeah, real quick. It is obviously an evolution of design and capability. Certainly, right now, the offerings we have are really neat, but it is education through design is the philosophy of it. Like you're kind of talking about, good design is educational, and if you don't have to make people think, well, you've done a good job, right? When you've introduced a lot of complexity into an environment, you're naturally then going to be inducing some frustration. And certainly with Shopify and all kinds of other applications, products out there right now, it's really about ease of initial, at least initial involvement with it. If the barrier to experimentation and first usability of something is a problem, you lost them, right? They're not. It doesn't matter what great thing you're going to come out with next. They're going to think, you know what? They couldn't figure it out the first time. I couldn't figure it out the first time. So, and then they will suffer, and the parent company will also suffer. But so to answer your question, this is evolution. We'll see. We are kind of again educating by design, and yeah, that's about it right now.
Mike,
well, let me ask you, hey, Greg, can I ask you a question? Just in general, then, not about Shopify. Can you give us just your insight into how you think AI in general could be used for shopping and benefiting consumers and also sellers?
I think what you had brought up earlier in terms of media offering and capability, it really is, trying to dissolve that digital divide, that digital barrier. A lot of people, certainly this was like pre-COVID, really enjoyed the in-person retail experience. You get to go in, it's within your 3D world, you get to feel, you get to, I don't know, if you go to taste, if you're in a food area or whatever, and listen. Those things are on the internet are either hampered or just not accessible at all. So the more you can introduce VR, AR, video, imagery, all those things, because you never know exactly what is receptive to what person as well. So the idea that you can just have a text description and a photo of a product, and people are just going to buy it, that's really kind of arrogant and lazy. So you don't know the person who maybe is on your site is really receptive to audio or AR or video. And so you need to have those offerings. So just that, and then how you stitch all those things together into a good design. And it's not just a buffet of garbage out there for people to figure out. That's the trick.
For sure.
I'll be curious to see how long it takes for somebody to come up with an AI personal shopper. hey, I want this. Go find the
That's
best
pitch
price,
fix.
the best ratings, this and that, the fastest shipping, and then get it to me.
I wondered if that's not what they're already doing with things like Honeydew or Honey Site, whatever that is, where they actually have you log into websites, and when you go to make a purchase, that kicks back from a webhook of sorts that you're set up to make a purchase and says, hey, you sure you checked all over to find out where you could find a better price? I suspect there's some form of AI already functioning on the back of those sites doing that. So otherwise,
Well,
you'd have a lot of other
AI
scripting going.
bot technology that I've seen looks like it would be perfect because you can set it up to do a task and it'll go out and do that task. Say, find me the best price on this. It may take a month, but it'll go out and just keep looking. And when it sees a price, it'll come back and say, hey, I found this. You want me to buy it? Sure.
Yeah, exactly. And we've been doing that as Amazon and eBay sellers for a long time, being able to actually have automations, at least of sorts. And when we say AI, I don't always apply that to just quote artificial intelligence.
Right.
I also apply that to things like advanced intelligence or advanced improvements to other operations, which allow you to do, you're just adding on to what's already there. So in this case, I think you're going to find the same thing. You've got automations that are already in place all over the world, but now we can step away from those automations and let someone else manage them from a more minute level than we ever did before without touching it ourselves.
What about AI being an arcane idiot?
I bet you could make
where
one.
do I fit into this world, man? That doesn't help me at all.
Well, speaking of arcane idiots, our bot over at Best AI Podcast is still a baby. So we want you to go try it out, test the AI features built within the bot, and it will become a full page bot just so you can sit there and talk with it. It has the ability to converse. If there's anything you want us to add to that bot as a knowledge base part of it, please let us know. We'll try to include that as the knowledge base part of the bot. Like if it's machine learning or if it's chat GPT or if it's any other aspect of it that you need to learn about, we can stuff it inside that bot for you to access at any time. So that's about it for today, guys. Brad, I know you didn't have much to say, so give me a little more of a rundown on where you're at with your book and what you're looking to do with it over the next few weeks. Brad, are we there? Did I lose Brad?
What I'm doing is I'm laying out a brand new book, that I've been given permission to write. I'm just doing the basic outlines for it because we still are not allowed to upload AI on some platforms. So it'll give me the basics for what I need, and that's it. So ChatGPT seems to be the best platform for that right now. If there's something better, I'll find it down the road. So that's it.
Well, if you need to find anything better, you can find it over on our Facebook page at Best AI Podcast, where we post all the latest news and special things that are going on. Lee, you got anything else you want to say real quick?
Just say, hey, listen, you guys want us to cover anything? You want us to do some research? Please let us know. Leave comments below. Tell us what you want us to talk about next week or the week after. Or you can send an email to us at support@bestaipodcast.tv.
That is correct. And I'm just going to wrap it up with that as an outgoing message to all of you out there. This is Leland Best from Best Live TV. We're here to make a community in AI, and we can't do it without you. So we need you to come by, subscribe, like, message, chat, do all those things that people do on social media to get the ball rolling. And that way we'll get more people involved so that we can do some really cool things with AI. But that's all we've got for you today. Say goodbye, everyone. We're just going to do it in audio form as we roll out of here today.
Bye, everyone.
We'll see
Goodbye.
you next Sunday. 7 p.m. at Best AI
7
Podcast.
a.m. I didn't agree to that.
No, I know. Sure. One of these times. See you later, guys.
Scott.
This digital age, we're breaking the mold. With AI fusion, let the story unfold. From life to business, the future is here. Unlock the potential, make it crystal clear. It's time to fuse, let the sparks ignite. AI in action, reaching new heights. Life and business blending into one. AI fusion, the journey's just